Hey there. Hello, how do you do? My name is Harry Wetzel. Thanks for coming. It's the 80s, darling. Yes, it is. It is February the 15th, 1986. The other night we were up at WJR, the great voice of the Great Lakes, listening to all sorts of music and having all sorts of discussions with a lady who said, you should plug up your ears. And we were up all night. And then we went out and had breakfast. And then we went and crashed over at Cabbage Boy's place. The Cardinal went on his way, and I'm crashing there at Cabbage's. And it's my last full day in Michigan before I go back to New York City. And so Badger comes over, and Corn Lad comes over, and Iguana, and we get fucked up all night. The night of Saturday the 15th. Yeah, it's fantastic. We get a pizza. We order a big pizza with everything on it, and we make a huge series of milkshakes with chocolate ice cream and vanilla ice cream and cocoa powder and chocolate chips and whipping cream and blenders and all sorts of stuff. And we just made these most elaborate, the most chocolatey milkshakes that you could possibly make. So we felt, and we were up all night. It was a fantastic time. And the next day, there's bodies and corpses everywhere. You know what I mean? And the Cabbage Boy's Christmas tree is still over in the corner. It's February, but it's dead, and it doesn't really have any needles, but it's rather pretty. It's a lovely piece of work. Piece of artwork, natural artwork in the Christmas tree corner. Yes. So we're laying around, and I've got a 6:30 flight back to New York City. And we're hanging around Cabbage Boys all day, getting fucked up, smoking marijuana, smoking reefer. Of course, I'm still not drinking anything. I haven't had a drink since New Year's, yes, and that's been remarkably easy. I flipped a switch in my brain and I said, we're not going to do it. And we didn't, and we haven't gone back. Not yet, anyway. So we're hanging around and just kind of exhausted and getting ready. You know, I've got most of my stuff packed up. I've got my dad's duffel bag. I've got my suitcase, and I've got my book bag all sort of over on the side, pretty much ready to go. And at 5:30, an alarm goes off. Ding! Which means it's 1 hour to the plane taking off. It was the 80s, darling. We didn't even get ready to leave the house until at least an hour or less before the plane took off. You could run. You could get there. You could get there with 30 seconds to go and run right up and go through the thing. And you run down that weird hallway and they would hold the door for you. Just try and do that today. So anyhow, at 1 hour before the plane was to take off, I'm laying there on the floor in front of the dead Yolka, in front of the dead holiday tree. And Cabbage Boy comes in, and I'm laying on the floor on my back there, and he climbs and he straddles my chest, and he puts his knees on my arms and he pins me down, and he's got something tiny between his index finger and his thumb. And I can see it's a little blue or purple sort of thing. I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think it's poison and he's going to kill me. And he says, open your mouth. And I'm like, he's going to kill me. And I didn't do anything. And he said, open your mouth. And I couldn't argue with such logic, so I did. And he deposited something that he was holding between his index finger and his thumb, and he dropped it in my mouth. Yeah, and he shut my mouth and he said, swallow it. And so I said, okay. Go. What just happened? I said. He says, nothing. Just gave you a purple microdot, mescaline, just to make your trip a little bit more enjoyable. And I'm going, well, this is going to be not going to be a mundane flight at all. So we smoked a couple of bowls and we're getting ready. We got to get ready to go to the airport. And now it's a half an hour later, and Cabbage Boy says, we got to get going or we're never going to make it. We're going to miss the flight. So suddenly we're in panic mode. We run out to Cabbage's car and we climb in. I've got my suitcase and my book bag and my dad's duffel bag, and I cram in the back seat, and Corn Lad is there, and Cabbage Boy is there, and Badger is there, and we're driving. And it's about a 12 or 15-minute drive from Cabbage's house to the airport, but he wants to make it in around 12 or 15 seconds. So we're going, and we get down to the freeway, and we round the corner, we're on the freeway, and there's a great big tire, the big tire that we pass when you're on your way out to the airport and you're going down I-94, and we get out to Metro Airport, and then we get up there, and it's a long drive, and then you pull up in the airport, and with chicken feathers everywhere. The Cabbage Boy crashes the car. Well, not really, but he crashes it into place, into a parking space, right in the Doris Day spot in front of the airport. So we get out of the car and we run. And Cornlad's like, I have to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, well, you should have thought of that before that, you. And so he's like, where's the bathroom? And I'm like, where's the exit? Where's my plane? Where do I go? And they said, loudspeaker, the New York plane is getting ready to leave right now. So you dudes had better hurry the hell up. And we're like, oh no. And so we're running blind down this huge, vast, giant, big, large building with endless hallways. And there's a airport looking lady with a uniform. And I say, New York flight? And she said, New York flight. And she grabs my arm. She says, come with me now. And so she's dragging me, and I've got all my stuff, and I'm dragging that, and I'm like a kite that won't fly. Bonk, 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 bonk. And the idiot bewilderment boys are behind me, and Cornlad takes off. We never saw him again. He was going to try and find a loo. But then another guy comes up, some strange bedraggled man, and he says, New York flight. And the lady looks at him, and she says, no more seats. And she looks at me, and she yanks me, and she drags me down the hallway. And she's like, wait, we round the corner. Of course, it's the very last hallway at the terminal. And we get all the way down there, and we round the corner, and they're shutting the airplane door. And she says, wait, I got one more. And the guy goes, and he stops it. And he's like, what? She says, I got one more. And he goes, well, hurry up. And he opens the door. And she says, go. And so I'm running. I'm dragging all my stuff. And I am drenched with sweat. We've been in a dead run for the last 45 minutes, it seems like. And so I get in there, and he opens the door, and he hates my guts, this flight attendant guy. And so I get in there, and he pulls the door shut. And he gives me a bad look, and he locks the thing. And he says, stay right there. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. I okay. So then flight attendant lady goes back into in the other room behind the curtain, and she comes back out, and she looks at him, and she goes like this, and he looks at her, and he goes like this, and she goes, and I don't have any idea what they're doing. And she looks at me and she says, there's no more seats back there. And I'm like, oh. She says, yes, we're going to have to put you in first class. And I said, oh, well, I'm certain I'll be able to. I'm certain I'll be fine. And they go, well, here's your seat. Turn around, seat 3A, right up front, right on the window. It's beautiful, and there's a blonde-haired lady with a lot of blonde hair and a German accent who's sitting there. And I sit down and I put my stuff in the overhead. It's the first class. There's plenty of room to put all your junk. And I put my duffel bag, my dad's duffel bag, and my and my suitcase, and I keep my book bag handy because I might want to look through something. And I sit down, and there's the the attendant giving the speech and everything like that. And then, so I get into my buckles and all that stuff, and the German lady, after the speech is over, she turns to me. She says, "Lucky thing you were late." I go, "What do you mean? Otherwise, you wouldn't have got. You might not have gotten in first class." And I'm like, "Lucky thing I was late." I love that. And so, yes, it was indeed a lucky thing I was late. So I looked down at her watch and I realized I took my watch off. Remember, I told you I wore a watch during Greater Tuna? Well, as soon as Greater Tuna closed, I stopped wearing that watch. So I didn't have it. But I looked down and I could see her watch. She had a big watch on, and it said 6:35. Now, remember, Cabbage Boy took and gave me a tab of purple microdot at 5:30, which is 0 hour purple time, we call it. Yes. So now it's 6:35. It's 1:05 purple time. And that's about the time that you realize, oh, that's right. I forgot that I took hallucinogens, and now I can feel them in my system beginning to take effect. Right. And so the plane at 6:35 goes lurch and starts to move. And I'm buckled in and I look out the window, and there's Cabbage Boy and there's Corn Lad and there's Badger, and they're jumping up and down in the window and they're waving and stuff. And I wonder if they can't see me, but I sort of wave anyway, and the plane pulls off. And then next thing you know, up in the air, you flying cadets. Yes. Remember the thing? Da, da, da. Right. So anyhow, we're flying over Detroit, and I'm beginning to trip out. Okay, and we're flying over Detroit at night, and it's lit up at night like a map. There's Woodward Avenue, and there's the Penobscot Building blinking away, and there's the Ambassador Bridge, and there's the Renaissance Center. I never saw the city of Detroit laid out so perfectly like a map like that, in person, in real life, out a plane window like that. Oh, it was just beautiful. So, do I have to tell you it was one of the best flights that I ever had in my life? I'm there, and we're on first class, and then after a few minutes, they come down the aisle, and she says, "Well, once you're in first class, it doesn't matter how you got into first class. You're in first class. That's all that matters. You're in." So they're like, "Would you like some champagne?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm tripping my brains out. Yes, I'd like some champagne." Oh, I didn't say that out loud. You understand? Yes, I'd like some champagne. And I'm going, glunk, 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 glunk. Please, ma'am, may I have another? And she goes, "Oh, okay." Glunk, 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 glunk. "Please, mum, may I have another?" And she's like, "Okay. They got these cute little bottles." Anyhow, so it's a fantastic trip. I have a little small talk with my German speaking lady, German accent lady in her long blonde hair. We didn't get in each other's nerves or anything like that. It was very nice and brief. She had a lovely time in Detroit and was going back home to New York. And I said, well, I had a lovely time in Detroit and I was going back home to New York. And I'm like, back home? What is home? What is home anyway? Anyhow, and the plane guy says, "Yes, we're going to be landing pretty soon, so put everything away and straighten up your chair backs and all that stuff." So we do. And eventually we land. We're not in New York yet. We land in Newark, New Jersey, Newark Airport. Right. And so I'm up in the front of the first class. I'm going to take advantage of this and get out as soon as I can. You know how when the plane lands, you have to stand around and wait. I was not going to wait. I got up there. I got my stuff. And as soon as they opened that door, I was like, "Bye, thank you." And then begins the long. And you're tripping out, and you're exhausted, and you're wearing everything that you're not carrying, right? And so you're going this long, because you've got to get from the airport part of Newark Airport to the bus terminal part of Newark Airport, because then you got to take a bus back to Manhattan. So I still got to make I got an appointment with the bus, and I'm carrying all this stuff. And eventually you get out and you get to the bus terminal. Yes, and the smell of the exhaust the bus hits you and you say, woof, oh, ha, ha, ha. That smells like going home. And I'm like, home? What is home? I thought I just left home and now I'm in New York and now this is home? What's going on? So I got all my stuff and I get on the bus and I'm glued to the window. Now it's about 2:30 purple time and I am just tripping out. We are approaching the peak. 3:00 purple time is pretty, 3 and 4 o'clock is the peak. Right. So I'm looking out the window. It's so beautiful. The lights when you're on hallucinogens look like you're in love. It's when you're on hallucinogens, it's like that day in 5th grade when it was a beautiful spring day in March when the temperature went up to 67 or 68 out of the blue and you felt the warmth was on its way and everything was so beautiful and green and smelled so delicious and you had such life in you and you had no worries. Everything was laid out in front of you. That's what this purple microdot felt like as I'm looking out the windows on and pulling into New York City. Then you get to Port Authority bus terminal, and you get all your stuff, and you're like, all right, I am not going to drag all this junk onto the subway. I am going to hail a cab. As it is, I am tripping my brains out. I am peaking. And New York is so alive and so beautiful and so dark and mysterious and so terrifying. And so you get over from Port Authority, you walk over a couple of blocks over to Broadway and 43rd. And you say, all right. And you eventually get yourself a cab. It doesn't take too long. And you say 98th and Broadway. And that cabbie takes off at an inordinate speed. And we are going, speed of sound. Booms, making sonic booms after every light turns green. Boom! And we're going past. There's the Winter Garden Theater. There's Gray's Papaya. There's the Thalia. And we get up to 98th Street. And I get out of the cab. And I'm exhausted from the ride. I was just sitting in the back of the cab and I'm exhausted from the ride in the cab. And so I carry everything and I cross Broadway. And I'm like, what is home? Where is home? Home is here now, apparently. And I stand and I go over to 98th and Broadway and I'm standing in front of Pamela's beautiful building and I look and I can see the way the building is shaped. You can't see my window directly unless you stand over on the side. You can kind of see it. My bedroom window is up there. And I'm like, that's my bedroom window. This is where I live. And I'm standing there, and it all hits me like a slow motion bolt of lightning. Electricity all the way through me, all the way through my dad's duffel bag and the suitcase and the book bag, all the way down to the floor. And I'm standing there and I'm looking at this beautiful, aesthetically lovely building. And I'm like, I had no idea until I was standing here tripping like this. But holy shit, I'm home. Here in New York, not in Detroit, not in Michigan. I'm here on 98th Street. And this is where I live. I'm home. There's the end of Stave 3. Absolute Never Forever by Harry Wetzel. I look forward to sharing Stave 4. We've got one more unit. It brings us from 1986 all the way up to today. And I was in my pursuit of happiness. And eventually I was able to find sanity. So I look forward to telling you all about it. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you next time.